Sandy here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to scrapbook this screenshot. So I'm a big fan of scrapbooking screenshots. I think that they're just fun and they're little snippets throughout my daily life that can go in my albums. And I'm going to be using this awesome mixed media stencil. Now this is the stencil of the month from Brutus Monroe for the month of December. I decided to play with some inks and some glitter glaze. So let's see what I can do. Happy New Year, you guys. I am going to start out with this gorgeous, gorgeous stencil. I have 4 shades of kind of a teal bluey ink that I'm going to use. And since the Brutus Monroe stencils are slightly smaller than 6x6, I'm going to be able to use 4 of the same stencil design on one sheet of 12x12 cardstock. Now I do have it taped down a little bit with purple tape, but I was vigorously using my ink blending brush and I kind of knocked the purple tape right on off of there. Now I will confess I have not washed this ink blending brush yet, so there is some color that was already in the brush that's coming out a little bit along with this. So that's why there's some variation in color on this one, but I'm not concerned about it. And I'm so not concerned about it, and I like it, so I decide to go ahead and not clean off my stencil in between the times that I am doing this. So as you can see, I'm just using that blending brush, applying ink off of my ink pad, and then stenciling it right on top of there. So again, you're getting a little bit of variation in color, and I like it. So it's like a happy ink blending accident where I wasn't purposefully doing it, but it just happened automatically, and that works for me. Plus, the way that the stencil is designed, it has big areas of white space and little areas of white space. It looks really, really awesome with the different hues and also the different variations on, oh man, where are my words right now, on like how deep and dark the color is. So it's just a perfect kind of lacy kind of stamp for that. Now you can use whatever ink you have on hand. I just chose these inks because they're ones that I have 4 variations of color for. Now this one I felt was a little bit dark and a lot of ink left on that. Look at that, that's just gorgeous, isn't it? A lot of ink left on the stencil, so I did decide to go ahead and wipe the stencil off with my microfiber cloth. Again, this is not something I wash on the regular. I probably should, but I haven't done it that way. I did decide ultimately to not go for 4 different colors of ink. I decided to bring in some Raven glitter glaze, and as you can see from the little jar right there, I am almost out. So I am really trying to make sure that I have enough and keep scraping over the stencil to make sure I get in all of those little nooks and crannies. So I'm just going to use my metal palette knife, and that is available on brutusmonroe.com as well. It comes in a multi-pack, which is pretty cool. And now I'm just keeping on making sure that my glitter glaze fits everywhere. And not having a huge amount of leftover glitter glaze on top of the stencil means that the glitter glaze will dry quicker. It also means that it's going to dry quicker on top of the stencil itself, so you need to clean that sucker off. Now I am just going to use my little guillotine trimmer here. I am trimming it down all the way to the ink color rather than leaving the white border on there. And I do that because I'm actually going to cut these areas apart. The stencil was designed so that it has 4 triangles, and the beautiful thing about that is you can cut your stencil up into triangles and make something gorgeous. Well, I think it's gorgeous. You don't have to do what I did with my layout, but I really like how it turned out. And I think that it is a little bit of work for a big impact. And sometimes we want our layouts to have big impact, and we want you to be like, man, that is a great layout. And you don't want to spend hours and hours and hours making the layout. Honestly, it took the longest to cut these pieces apart. And I feel like if I did it with scissors, I probably could have done it a little bit quicker, but my lines would not have been as straight. And I did want to try to get as straight of lines as possible. The glitter glaze did not take long to dry at all since I had that thin coat, but still gorgeous, big impact. Using a glitter glaze is a really easy way to have big impact on your layouts as well. So just think like next time you're going to use a stencil and you're going to think about putting ink through it, put some glitter glaze through it, because that's going to give you extra texture. It's going to give you extra dimension. It's going to give you extra oomph and sparkle, and sparkle's a good thing. So I am just going to finish trimming these triangles down so that they don't have the white space. Now there is a ever so slightly tiny little bit of inked or glitter glazed area that I'm basically just going to throw away. That teeny tiny little bit, though, I am not worried about it. It's not like I'm throwing away a 12 by 12 worth of glitter glaze or 12 by 12 worth of ink. So, I mean, that tiny little bit, not worried about it whatsoever. And then these little teeny tiny scraps, they're going in the trash, like going straight in the bin. I'm not worrying about that. So now I have all of these triangles here, and this is a screenshot. It says we are all in this together. And then I was writing, except the Maniacs, forget them. Now, if you guys ever watch my parking lot talks over on Instagram or anything like that, you know that I call a lot of people maniacs. It's kind of like my go-to term, especially working a retail management position during Q4 and during COVID, because maniacs, that is what we're going to go for. Now I did want something pretty, even though I'm talking about COVID and I'm talking about maniacs, and at first I didn't even know if I was going to document this kind of stuff, but it's so permeated everything in life that I feel like if I didn't have at least some sort of nod to it in my scrapbooks, that would be weird. Like, I'm not making a COVID album. I don't need to do that. I don't have a desire to do that. I know that some people do, and that's how they're dealing with it, and that's how they are, choosing to document. And hey, if that works for you, then do it. Like, do what works for you. But for me, this is the kind of thing that's going to work for me. It's going to be pretty things and little small nods. That's the way it's going to be. So here I am. I've decided to overlap my triangles and basically create a big old banner over here. Now, I know that Christmas is over, but I think you could probably do this and make a Christmas tree out of it as well. I realize that I'm a little bit crooked, just a little bit crooked. So I just adjust something real quick. And then I'm like, okay, so now my photo is going to be here. So I need to do a little bit of decoration down here because it's just way too much white space for me. I'm a more is more kind of gal, and especially with these, like, more is more. So I do overlapped the three little guys right here. And then I'm like, do I want to try this, get this fourth guy in there? I'm like, no, I don't want that fourth guy in there. So now I got to figure out what I'm going to do to make my photo stand out, because the photo is kind of getting lost with all the gorgeousness of the stencil. So I decide to take a sheet of 12 by 12 cardstock because that's what I have handy, and I wanted a black matte. And as you can see, that black matte really pops off of the stenciled area, and it also really pops off of the white cardstock. So I am going to pop my photo up on some fun foam, and I'm going to go ahead and drop it down here. So now I'm like, okay, now I need to do some journaling. I got to do a title. Technically, I didn't really have to do a title because my photo could have been the title. But, you know, I'm thinking I want to say something big about Maniacs. I want Maniacs in a big font so that you can see it. So I'm going into my stash, and I have these silver word stickers. So I decide to put no in the silver letters. I actually think that was the word on, and I just turned it around to make it no. And then I found these in my stash, which are a black and white letter. And I'm going to go ahead and place those down so that it says no Maniacs. And I tell you, I got some stories, you guys. I have some stories. It is kind of unbelievable, the kind of stories I have. Now I am going to take some liquid glue, and I'm grabbing the silver sparkly sequins from the Brutus Monroe shop, and I love these sequins so much. They have them in silver and gold, and if you put them one side up, they're super sparkly, but if you flip them over, they're a little bit more matte. And usually I put them all on the super sparkly because, you know, more is more. This time I just, whichever way they land it is the way I did. I just wanted to add a little teeny extra little bit of something to give it a little bit more, you know? Anytime you can add a little shining, shimmering, splendid to the layout, fills my heart with happiness. It really does, you guys. So I am writing a little bit of journaling down. And the journaling says, I had to share a little of my snark about COVID. I'm truly over the Maniacs. Working in retail as a manager, believe me, I have met them all. And honestly, you guys, sometimes it feels that way. So there it is. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for joining me. Make sure you check out the links down below. And I will see you guys again real soon for another video.